Hi, friend. I wanted to let you know there are only 3 more days to join the Accountability Club for our fall semester. The doors will close until January when we reconvene for spring. So if you're on the fence, here's what one of our newest members said about the club in last week's coaching call. Have you enjoyed it so far?
It's awesome. I've done the most organizing I've ever done in a long, long time. So I'm very happy for the group.
I love that.
Have it set up here for us to be
Oh.
working while we're meeting. I think that's great.
Don't miss the chance to work through your home with us this fall. Click the link below to join before July 12th. Now, on to today's episode. Welcome to the Habits and Home Show. This is episode 238. I'm your host, Lisa Lazat, and I help Christian ADHD women clear out the clutter in their homes and get clarity over their systems so they can finally walk in the peace God has promised them. If you love Jesus but feel disorganized and overwhelmed, you have come to the right place. Before we dive into today's topic, I want to say a quick prayer over you. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this new day, for all your blessings in our lives, the ones we recognize and the ones we don't. Thank you for this opportunity to have some time to prepare our homes and our lives before our children start back to school. I pray that you would help each mom and each woman that is listening today to take one simple step at a time, instead of feeling like everything has to be done all at once. I pray that you will give her energy for today's task. I pray that you will give her the wisdom to focus on what matters most. And I pray that you will give her the peace that when things don't go as perfectly as she has planned, that she will rest in you and knowing that this is just the journey that she's on. I pray that this episode will encourage those that are listening to create a little bit more order in their homes so that there is more room for what matters most in their lives. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. All right, friends, today we are talking about 5 things, 5 areas, 5 topics that I recommend that you get organized before your kids start back to school. Now, if you don't have kids, that's completely fine. You can still glean off of some of these areas to prepare yourself for the fall season. Of course, I want to remind you, as you are listening, I want you to get something done in your home, whether that is resetting your kitchen at night, or you are getting ready for the day and you are resetting your bathroom, whatever it is, I want you to try to feel productive while you're listening to this episode. It's something that I do in our accountability club as well as my one-to-one coaching sessions. Those are working calls. While we are talking, while we are listening, we are both moving, getting up, doing something in our home. We're not just being passive listeners. So I hope that you will take action now. All right, so the 5 areas, the 5 things that I recommend or encourage you to organize this summer, I'm just going to list them at first. So if you are busy and you just need to know the information quick and move on, I want to go ahead and provide that for you. So the 5 areas are your kids' clothes, your laundry routine. So after the clothes are organized, then you want to create a laundry routine if you don't already have one. Number 3 is your refrigerator and pantry. And of course, I'm going to explain why. Number 4, hence after your refrigerator and pantry are organized, you're going to want to organize a meal plan and start that new routine. And then that leads us into finishing up and wrapping up with number 5, which is your time management system. So some of these areas are physical, they're hands-on, and some of these areas are things that you just need to think through and problem solve and create systems. So a part of organization or being an organized person involves thinking through things, a lot of thought process. You can't just become an organized person through action only. You really have to think through it. You have to imagine and envision yourself living this out, living these systems out, and this new organization or new structure that you're trying to create. You need to start seeing yourself living as that person first and foremost, or in the process. Of course, you're not going to just become that person by sitting there thinking through everything. You do need to put in the work. And so it's twofold. You have to think about organization, but you also have to do organization, okay? So there is a balance in this list of some doing and some thinking. Now, obviously, in the doing, you are going to be thinking about what you're letting go and what you're keeping and how it's going to be stored. So yes, there is thinking as you are doing some physical labor and physical work in organization and decluttering. And then also, when you're thinking through your systems, such as your laundry routine and your meal plan system and your time management system, there is also going to be some doing. Like you have to write things out. You have to create the structure somehow, maybe with a checklist or maybe moving some baskets around and setting up your space. So organization, being an organized person, is twofold. It is the physical act of doing things, and then the not necessarily passive act of thinking through things. You are active, you are being intentional, but there's also the facet of thinking through things. So you have the doing of being organized and the thinking of being organized. I hope that helps. That's probably where a lot of people go wrong. They spend way too much time thinking about their organization and not taking action. Or I have people that will do a lot of acting and moving and manipulating and changing things, but then they don't think through it. This is your act of embodying the skill of organization. You have to both do it and think through it. I hope that helps in some way. Okay, so now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of 5 things that I think you should organize this summer before school starts back, or if your kids are not going to school, at least before August or the fall season. This is just a really good time to focus on this area specifically. Okay, so number 1, your kids' clothes. We are actually going through our kids' clothes inside the Accountability Club in the month of July. And please remember that the doors to the Accountability Club are about to close. We have one more week for you to join. Please get in before July 12th. The doors will shut until January when we start our spring semester. So right now the doors are open for our fall semester. Hop inside. You have not missed much. You are not behind. You are going to get 4 coaching calls every month, plus the accountability, plus the follow-up to actually follow through on the task, on the challenge that I have laid out and planned out for that month. So it is a great opportunity to get coaching and accountability. Okay, so kids clothes. We're actually starting kids clothes this week. Last week, we focused on our kids' bedrooms first, and then we were moving into kids' clothes, and then we're going to start get our kids on board with a laundry routine. So how do you go about doing decluttering, organizing your kids' clothes? Well, first of all, you got to think about where the kids' clothes are stored. And every home is going to be different. Maybe you have a family closet. I mean, I saw the Duggars do that about 15 years ago or maybe 20 years ago. They had a family closet, and that would sound wonderful. The clothes never leave the first floor and you have it all goes back in the same spot, and you have a laundry room in your family closet. That sounds wonderful, but not every home is conducive to something like that. So yes, I'm going to speak in generalities right now because I don't know how your kids' clothes are stored in your home. And this is why the Accountability Club or getting one-on-one coaching is helpful, because I can speak to your specific situation. So you have to think about how your clothes are being stored right now. So I'm going to speak in generalities and talk about what is typical. Okay, typical kids have their own bedroom, they have a dresser, and they have a closet. Now, you might live in a small space where you have to put your kids' underwear or socks in their side nightstand. Okay, that's different. So just kind of think about how you are storing your kids' clothes. I recommend that you start with your kids' dressers, their folded clothes first. And obviously, I recommend that you have their room decluttered and organized before you move on to their clothes, because you don't want to be stepping on things. You don't want to pull out clothes to an already cluttered space. You want to have a clean and clear workspace. I say make your kids' beds so that you can use the top of their bed for a workspace. When you're bringing out one drawer at a time, you're going to dump it out. You're going to sort through it. What is old? What has holes? Have they outgrown? And you're going to make little piles of categories of things that they still can fit into, what is still good. Now, keep in mind, too much of a good thing is no longer a good thing. So even if it is good, it might not be good all at one time. So you might have to weed out some good things. Maybe they have too much socks. Maybe they have too many pairs of underwear. Maybe they have too many shoes and they're not utilizing everything. And so there's a lot of things that are just in the way. So go category by category, drawer by drawer, resetting the drawers as you go. I recommend dumping it on the bed, sorting it out, and then returning it back to the drawer where it belongs. Then we're going to lead into the closet. I recommend decluttering a closet from the bottom to the top. Why do I do that? Because typically you're stepping into the closet and you don't want to step on things that are cluttered or in the way. So it's always great to start from the bottom and work your way up. Most people will go right to their hanging clothes because those are eye level and that's what they focus on first. I don't recommend that. I recommend that you start from the bottom and work your way up. So now that we have our kids' clothes decluttered and we know what we have in inventory, then you're going to take inventory of what you need to buy for your kids for the upcoming school year. So that is why it's good to declutter and organize your kids' clothes before you go shopping. And so what I do every year is I go through my kids' clothes with them, mainly my two younger boys. My daughter is pretty independent, and I just write down in a shopping list of what I need to buy them for the upcoming school year. So this is why it's really good to declutter and organize so that you can take inventory before you ever hit the stores for school shopping. All right, moving on to number 2. Now that your kids' clothes are organized, you're going to want to start involving them into your laundry routine and laundry system if you haven't already. I have a lot of clients and members inside the accountability club that join with me and they say, yeah, I'm the only one that does laundry. And this sounds wonderful, Lisa. I would love to now raise up my kids and pass that on to them. Not because I can't do it anymore or I don't want to do it anymore. I just want to instill in them the skill of managing their laundry well. A lot of adults don't even manage their laundry well. I didn't for years until I got to the point where I was like, I'm done. You reach this point in your disorganization and your lack of well-managed home systems. I don't know if you have gotten to the point. I got to the point several years ago where I'm like, something is not working here. Something is off. And I realized I had too much stuff. I was living beyond my capacity to manage that stuff. I created this really beautiful home, and though it was beautiful, it was too much for me to manage during that season of my life. I had little ones. I had a newborn baby. I had kids. I had 3 kids, all 2 years apart. And I just needed to cut back a lot so that I could learn these really good home management skills with little rather than having a lot of stuff. And so I went through the decluttering process. I went through minimizing my decor and just creating a much simpler life for me to manage. And that included our laundry routine. And so I figured out a laundry routine that works really well for our family. And then, first of all, for myself, I focused on myself first. So if you don't have a laundry routine or a laundry system, focus on you following through on that laundry system and that laundry routine first, and then bring your family in on it, because you can't teach from something that you don't know yourself. So I teach this inside the Accountability Club. I also teach it one-on-one. So basically, I'll share with you the framework. Assign each person their own laundry basket. Keep it in their room. If you don't want to keep it in the room, keep it in a neutral place or a place that is convenient to where they take off their clothes. And the reason why you want to give each person their own basket is because when it is their assigned laundry day, which is what you will want to give everybody, an assigned laundry day, and you will take their basket, or they will take their basket full of their own clothes to the washer. Then you will remind them, okay, now it's time to switch, and they will switch their own clothes to the dryer. And then when they're done with that, you will remind them to switch from the dryer to back to their own basket, and that basket will return back to their room. So it is this full circle laundry cycle, and you go from being the doer to the manager, or to the reminder. So you're no longer the one doing everything. You are coming alongside of your children, helping them do it and reminding them of the steps. And like I said, I break all of this down a little bit more inside the Accountability Club, if that is something that you want to learn more about. Okay. Number 3, something that you're going to want to do before you start back to school is decluttering your refrigerator and your pantry. This is another big area of contention that I see with my members and with my private clients is the handling of food and getting food on the table and shopping for food and planning for food. It's just a lot. I wish we lived in the Garden of Eden where we could just go and pick the apples off the trees. And I actually have blueberry bushes that I'm very proud of this summer. I got over 3 gallon-sized bags of blueberries, and I would just be working in my yard and go pick blueberries and eat them right then. And this is the way to live right here. I don't have to worry about the cooking and the cutting and the cleanup, and it's a whole process. I just want to eat fruit. It's so easy to prepare. Okay, so refrigerator and pantry clean out. Why do this before school starts? Well, first of all, you need to do it pretty often, and why not do it now before everything starts getting really, really busy? If you do not have your pantry organized in a way where it is separated by categories. Now, when I say separated by categories, I don't mean what you have maybe seen on Pinterest. I don't even know if Pinterest is popular anymore. I keep saying that because I'm a millennial, and maybe it's social media now that I should reference. Pantries do not have to be aesthetic. They don't have to be perfect, but they do, in my opinion, need to be categorized. And what I recommend that you do is break this down by what time of the day are foods being eaten. So I put snacks on the very bottom shelf, across the shelf, and then in the corner on the bottom shelf, we used to do cereals. We don't really do cereals anymore. I have maybe a bag of pancake mix. I do have my potatoes and onions. They say to separate them, but we go through them so quickly that I don't have a problem with them being on the same shelf in the same pantry. So down there, and then the next shelf up, we have our breads and more of our healthier snacks, I would say, like peanuts and trail mix and things like that my husband and I more so snack on. And then the next shelf up, the next 2 shelves, I would say, are our meal, ingredients for cooking meals, like our canned goods and anything dinner related. And I don't really have a lot in our pantry because I try to eat a lot of fresh things recently. And so it's mainly in our refrigerator. We store things in our refrigerator and our freezer. So I don't have a lot of boxed things anymore, but I do have some baking goods. So I have a baking section. So you're going to want to do a clean out of your pantry and then categorize things or create categories. And I recommend that you get a label maker or you use some masking tape and you just write your labels on tape and stick it to your shelves. Anything that you can label will be so helpful because it takes away from you always having to remind people where things go, and the label will speak to them. Okay. So also clean out your refrigerator. And moving on from your refrigerator and your pantry clean out, I want you to practice having self-control over what you buy. Overbuying. I made this mistake for so many years of overbuying food. I get there and I have these grand ideas of these good foods I'm going to eat or feed my family, and then I never get to them and they end up being wasted, and it's not practical. And so I really encourage you to then go to step number 4, which is creating a meal planning routine, a meal planning system. And this is very simple, y'all. This is what I teach inside the Accountability Club, having a weekend reset where you sit down, you clean out the leftovers from the week, and you take inventory of the ingredients that you still have on hand and build your meals off of that for the week. It can be a very loose meal plan. Like you can just make a list of everything that you can cook with the ingredients that you have on hand, or you can schedule it by the day if you need that kind of structure. And so I clean out my refrigerator, my pantry, I take inventory of what I have, what can I create with what I already have in hand, and then I plug into my shopping list what I need to buy to fill in the other days. So always start, in my opinion, with cleaning out your refrigerator, taking inventory, build on what you already have, and then shop for what you need. A lot of us are not doing that. A lot of us are just going off to the store without any plan, any kind of idea, and we're just seeing what looks good, okay? Once I started meal planning and then doing my weekend reset ritual, which includes meal planning, creating a new to-do list for the week to come, and then resetting my car, that is my personal weekend reset, it just set myself up for such a better, more organized week to come. The flow is better. I'm not frazzled. It actually made me enjoy cooking again because I have a plan. I'm not going to plan anything that takes me hours to prepare. I'm not doing my homemade lasagnas anymore. That we could save that for every once in a while on a Saturday, that I prepare it on a Saturday and I plan it for Sunday morning after church. I'm not doing those big elaborate meals anymore. It's going to be simple, quick, and easy. Okay. So, but you do need to start doing your planning. And that's something we do inside the Accountability Club is I do a weekly post where I ask you to check in with your weekend reset for the 3 things that you want to reset. All right, finishing up and wrapping up with number 5, which is our time management system. Oh, this is a big area for people that I work with. They struggle to manage their time. They struggle to lock in on a system. Just the other day when I asked for response for people's weekend reset, and one of my members responded that she struggles to keep her to-do list all in one spot. And so we are going through that habit training process of always going back to the system that we already have established and putting her to-do list in one spot. So some things, I would say 3 things that I recommend that you have. Now, there are other things, but start with these 3 bare minimum to start with. 3 things that I recommend that you get in place for your time management system is first, number 1, a digital family shared calendar. Start this with your spouse and go from there. As your kids get older, you can be like me and they get their own cell phones, their own smartphones. You can add them to the calendar. My husband and I did this for several years before our kids ever had cell phones. And we would put our events on our digital family shared calendar. And then when my daughter came of age and she had her own phone, we added her to that calendar. And now she will be out and about. She's 17 years old now and she works. She goes to school. She's very busy with extracurriculars and she will be out and about, and she will add to our family calendar any events that pertain to her. And it's just this beautiful way of communicating. It doesn't take away your time to talk to each other. It's just a more efficient way to communicate what is going on in your life and how to manage it. The second thing that I recommend that you do is you create a personal to-do list for yourself, whether you create that on your phone and it's digital, whether you put it in a day planner, or whether you put it in a notebook that is designated for your weekly to-do list. I recommend that during your weekend reset, you update this each and every week and refer back to it. Don't just create a system and forget about it. This is your second brain. It is housing things that you don't need to think about anymore. And that being said, do not overwhelm your to-do list. I keep mine very, very simple, very short, and to the point. I might have 2 to 3 items per day on my to-do list. And these are things that I will forget about if I don't have them written down. I'm not talking about where I need to list out my habits and list out my routines and everything, and it's going to guide me throughout the entire day. Now, some people love that and they will do that, and then they end up not following through on it. So mine is very simple, to the point, and it's very, very helpful and useful. And then the third thing that I recommend that you do is plan for your school day routines. So that your normal day is very different than a school day, and you need to think through all of the things that you're going to be juggling. The morning routine, the afternoon routine, the bedtime routine, the packing lunch routine. And I am going to go through all of that in August when we do our back to school systems. I will break it down an entire school day, and I will help you think through, remember the thinking, how to be an organized person, the thinking and the doing. So I will break down an entire school day and help you think through each routine that goes with that school day. So those are the 3 things that I recommend that you get in place for your time management system. And remember, these are just the bare bones. I go deeper into this inside the Accountability Club, but I can only cover so much here. So your digital family shared calendar, your personal weekly to-do list, and then a plan for your school day routines, okay? All right, friends, I hope you enjoyed this and got something accomplished while you listened today. If you want to join me inside the Accountability Club, you only have a little bit more time to join for this semester, and then we're closing down the doors until January. You can find that link in the show notes below, or if you want to coach with me one-on-one, you can find that down below as well. All right, I will see you right here next time on the Habits and Home Show.